I want what wants me. I only want what wants me. And I think that this is a phrase that you can think about in terms of creating opportunities in your life, myself included. Like when we create opportunities, when we're able to actually bring opportunities into our orbit, into our life, the way we do that is by first, in our mind, we've already decided that that is what we want. And then once we decide what it is that we want, we sit with that and then we go, okay, I know that I'm ready for this opportunity and this is exactly what I want. I feel aligned with it. I personally pray, and I pray out loud. I use my words because when you use your words, you hear what you're saying. So you're also reaffirming what you're thinking out loud. I sit in meditation with it. So I sit with the idea and with the thought of the thing. I internalize it. And from there, I feel the energy change and the thing come towards me. Hello, and if this is the first time you're listening to It Takes a Village, thank you and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you are returning and you are coming back, thank you for also being here, rocking with me. And I have a couple of requests before we even start this episode. Number one, if you are listening to this episode and you love it, please share it with a friend. Organic reach is the best reach. And if you feel inclined, which I hope you do, please leave us a written review on Apple, and that helps boost the show organically. It's a great way for you to give back to the show that gives to you. And number three, the newsletter. We have a newsletter. Head over to ittakesavillagepod.com and scroll down to the bottom, fill out the information, and we will send you information. You can also check out more details and more show notes. Everything that you want to know and are interested in about the show is updated there. Okay, let's get into this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It Takes a Village. I'm your host, Delina, and today is a very special day. We're doing a solo episode. We do a few of those every once in a while, but I'm going to be doing them more in this season because every time I speak to y'all, like privately, you always ask me why I don't do more. And so, you know what? I feel you. And I'm with you on it. So if you're new to It Takes a Village, this is a show that focuses on gratitude, creative centering gratitudes. We're talking influencers, people that work in entertainment, artists. Everyone, I feel, has someone who has really helped uplift them, guide them, share with them what it is that they need to do to get to the next level of their life. And that could be monetary, it could be spiritually, it could be emotionally, it could be so many different things. And what we do on this show is we talk to people about how they got to where they're going, and they thank the people that helped them along the way, which is really important in my opinion, because I have noticed, and I've been a product of people sharing me. And when they do, it's changed my life. And I have interviewed people who have specifically been really instrumental in my career, shared me in a way that boosted me up, lifted me up, shared with me exactly what they think I should do, but also just been a listening ear and helped me get to where I need to go. So you have many different types of people on the show, like my voice coach and the first person who hired me in New York for a consistent gig. Her name is Francesca Ramsey. We have so many people who have been legitimately incredible human beings in my life, and I want to share them with you. And then we talk to other people, of course, about who's been instrumental in there. So I do want to say, this episode is really talking about alignment. Alignment is something that has been a theme in my life for a long time. If I think about the phrase, I only want what wants me. This is a phrase I heard. The first time I heard this, I actually heard this from one of my best friends. Binta, shout out to you. If you're new here, you haven't heard me mention her name, but I mention her pretty often. And one of my closest friends, she was talking to me about dating, and she was saying, like, I only want who wants me. And I was like, wait, that's That is profound. I actually really like that because this is the thing, okay? If you know me personally, you know that I am persistent, okay? If I want something, if I've got my eyes on the prize, okay, I am moving towards that thing like a cheetah, like a puma, like I'm I'm patient, like, I felt like little Kim for a second. I'm patient. If you're listening and you didn't see me do that, I was just doing the back and forth movement that Lil Kim does whenever she's on stage. I'm patient. I am patient, and I will take my time, and I will say, you know what? I know that this thing is for me, and I will take my time, and I will get there the exact way that I need to get there, and I won't rush. But I will be there until I get what I want, right? And it's interesting because this is something that had served me very strong in the beginning of my career because, I didn't know anybody. And so everything was about the hunt and about the chase. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go over here. And when I tell you I am resilient when it comes to the chase, I am resilient, okay? And what I have realized, I actually put this in my most recent newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed, you should totally subscribe. Go to delinamedhin.com, DeLinaMedhin.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Sign up for the newsletter. Okay, so I have this newsletter that I put out every 2 weeks called This Made Me Think of You. And in the newsletter this week, I talk about how I'm sitting in this energy that's different than the energy I had when I first started. And I saw recently 2 different things. One is Gary Vee said something online, and he said, whenever you are selling, it seems effective, but it's a response to doing. You're pursuing, right? You're pursuing people. When you market well, people come to you. And I've said this a few times in previous episodes, but I've always kind of felt really great about the fact that I know how to sell. I was like, wow, like I am really good at selling. And that is an amazing skill because like you could put me anywhere. And one day I'll tell you all the story about how I was selling donuts for like $1 from Krispy Kreme. Actually, I'll tell you now. Okay, so when I was really young, like I was like probably like 19, I would go early in the morning to the Krispy Kreme that was about 45 minutes away from like these dealerships, okay? And I would drive, there was a Krispy Kreme in like downtown Raleigh in North Carolina, and I would go there, I would get them, when the sign is on, the hot sign at Krispy Kreme, I would go in there, I would get the Krispy Kreme donuts, I would do like 2 dozen, I would keep them warm, and I would take them fresh to these like dealerships where the guys were working on cars. You can pretty much just walk around there and be like, hey, do you want these donuts? And I would sell them to people. When I tell you, your girl has hustled for a very long time, okay? Like there is no shame in my game when it comes to hustle. So I thought about it and I said, there was a thing about this hustle that made me always feel like I was going to be fine. Like you could drop me in front of a car dealership with some Krispy Kreme donuts and I'd be good. What I have now realized is that if you're constantly selling, you burn out. And I experienced probably one of the most intense, brutal burnouts ever in, I would say like 2020, end of 2021, 2022. I would even say that it lingered up until very recently. Like I had the remnants of it, and if you've never experienced burnout before, what it feels like is it just feels like you lose this intense fire and passion and desire to do and to create at the level and the speed that you were creating. So you feel like you were having momentum. There's a ball, you're pushing it a little bit and you feel like you're kind of pushing it and it's kind of moving, and then you start pushing it and then you start getting momentum and you're like, oh my gosh, wow, this ball is moving. And then it almost seems like it starts to go down this hill. And then it's like it goes on the hill, it has the momentum, right? And then it gets to this flat zone and it starts pushing out, and on this flat zone, eventually it's going to stop, right? Like maybe it's going to hit a wall because it was going so fast, it'll hit a wall, right? And that's the burnout, but it'll start to kind of slow down. And there's like, almost like you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. It feels like very similar to depression. Sometimes it can lead to depression. It feels like a weight, like your spark is just not sparky, And when you work for yourself, it's really scary when that happens, because I've worked for other people and I've felt that, right? But you still get your check every week. When you work for yourself and that happens, it is, you feel like you don't even know what's going on, because you start to feel like, okay, I know that if I don't do, I won't make. And if I don't make, I can't live. And if I can't live, what do I do, right? So you start scaling back. You start, piecing things together differently than you did before. You start being like, well, hopefully maybe I can make it work if I do this. And you start and every person that I know, so I've worked for myself for over 10 years now, every person that I know that has worked for themselves for that amount of time has gone through something like that. And so it brings me to this point where I saw this other girl, also on my timeline, where she was talking about how she paid Alex Hormozy, which, if you're not familiar with Hormozy, he does a lot of business training online. It's very masculine, like business training. It's very like, do this, be 100%. Him and his wife, Layla, talk a lot about stuff. And I really find their information really helpful. But she said something where she said she paid him for coaching. And she said she listened to him talk and she was just like, yeah, this is helpful, but I don't want to be in that mode anymore. And the mode she was talking about is like this, just like doing, grinding, pushing, And she said something like, is it possible to be successful financially if you don't do that? And she kind of was like, well, follow me and, I'll let you know how it's going. And I feel like it's kind of interesting how I saw both of these videos. They weren't necessarily related, but to me, they kind of were, because my thought was, okay, what if you start focusing on the marketing and not focus on and let that be the lead generation for the sales? So a person who I think does this really well, her name is Glow Atano, Glow Graphics, GLO Graphics online. Glow mentioned to me, and she's put this out publicly before, so this isn't private, but she said, I don't pay for ads. And I was like, what? Because Glow has said that she's made over $1 million in a year. And I was like, what? How are you not paying for ads? Like, how are you getting through? And she's like, well, it's just all organic. And I was like, how? So I started to really pay attention to what exactly she's doing. And I thought to myself, wow, like this person is really, and Glow is an incredible marketer, right? Like if you go to her page, it's colorful, it's beautiful. There is a storytelling, like a weaving through of the story that she's really doing there. And I find that the people who know how to weave a story through and don't just create and like put it out there seem to have more of an understanding of what marketing is. And so to me, I want to break down like what is marketing versus sales? Like what is the idea of marketing? So marketing to me is an intelligent way to have a conversation with your customer that doesn't feel hard. I'll give you an example. When I bought my car, I went to the dealership. I moved to LA recently, so I had to buy a car when I got here. I haven't had a car for 10 years. I had a car in North Carolina, so I know how to drive, okay? But I got here, and I went to the dealership, and I was interested in getting a car, and I went to the dealership, and the guy showed me the car, He was like, we can try whatever you want. We go, we do this stuff, da da da. And he was the first person that I ever experienced like not calling. He didn't call. He wasn't like, hey, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Do you want to get it? Like, what do you, He didn't do any of that. He just literally spent time with me, uninterrupted, unrushed, like sat with me, did some of the numbers with me, like was like, okay, great meeting you. Let me know. To me, that was marketing. He let me sit with it. He let me decide. And then when I reached back out to him, then we were starting to have a conversation, right? And I think the assumption with marketing is, let me give you my best. Let me give you my all. Let me share with you what the possibilities are. Let me dream with you. That's what I feel like marketing is. Let me dream with you. And then we get to a place where you now get to decide. And it might be now. It might be 3 months from now. And honestly, what's really interesting about this is that him and I now have become friends. And so recently, even after he sold me the car, he's like, listen, Delina, if you need anything, you just tell me and I will help you figure it out. And we became really good friends. And I was just in his office the other day and he was telling me about a girl that he met. And then 6 months later, she called and was like, hey, I'm actually ready to get a car. And she was talking about the same thing. So this is what he does. He is a marketer, not a salesperson, okay? He was like, yeah, I never called her. And then she called me back. And I was like, that's your secret sauce. Like, that's what you do well. You give somebody your full attention. You're there. You're present. You're showcasing the thing. And then it turns into this relationship. And when I tell you, every time I text Sammy, he will text me back within minutes. Hey, Delina, what's up? How can I help you? Like, what do you need? It feels like I have someone who's in my corner and someone who is rocking with me, who isn't just about the sale that he had with me, but more so about the relationship. And when I'm ready to buy another car, I'm going to go back to Sammy because of the way he is. He's chill. That to me is marketing. Okay, sales is reaching out consistently all the time. And I have to say, like, this is something that I do, right? I kind of started with it and I can't tell you that it's not effective because it is. There's a difference between doing sales with elegance and doing sales where you're being a nuisance, okay? So I'd like to say I have elegance in the way that I do things, but I'm very aware of reaching out to somebody and following up is something that when you do it, you separate yourself from everyone else. So following up is something that I do very well. So if we already have a relationship, the follow-up is going to look like, okay, maybe we're talking right now and maybe you don't have the budget to do something with me right now, but 3 months from now, I can check in with you and then we can kind of see what's going on. It's been effective for me. I've lived my life like that, right? Like, I don't have to create tons of content because I am able to reach out to people more strategically. That being said, I'm feeling creative and I'm feeling a switch and I'm feeling more like the interesting thing about marketing is you get to do it the way you want to. So I'm going to go back to Glow for a second. Glow had a love story that she talked about, the man that she's now married to. And she, all of a sudden, she always talks about like living life abroad. She has different projects that she works on, but she had something about talking about her love story. She turned it into this ebook. She ended up selling the ebook and like people bought it. And they wanted to know like how to date more effectively because she met this man as she was traveling abroad and she shared, how she opened up her dating preferences and like things that she was looking for and how she created more of an open mind. There's something about opening your mind up to what it is that you want, but also creating from the space of where you're learning and the abundance that you have. So I started this off by saying, I want what wants me. I only want what wants me. And I think that this is a phrase that you can think about in terms of creating opportunities in your life, myself included. Like when we create opportunities, when we're able to actually bring opportunities into our orbit, into our life, the way we do that is by first, in our mind, we've already decided that that is what we want. And then once we decide what it is that we want, we sit with that and then we go, okay, I know that I'm ready for this opportunity and this is exactly what I want. I feel aligned with it. I personally pray, and I pray out loud. I use my words, because when you use your words, you hear what you're saying. So you're also reaffirming what you're thinking out loud. I sit in meditation with it. So I sit with the idea and with the thought of the thing. I internalize it. And from there, I feel the energy change and the thing come towards me. So this to me is part of marketing. And it sounds funny because you're like, well, prayer and meditation are more private, right? You're not doing those things publicly, or maybe you are, who knows? But most of the time, those are processes that are quite private. But if you think about it, both of those things spark movement, spark intention, because then you get ideas that say, at least, right? I get ideas, and everyone I've spoken to that meditates and prays gets ideas. And you have these moments where you get these downloads and you say, okay, now I know what I'm supposed to do. And you're not moving from a place of, what does everybody want to see from me, right? Who do I have a relationship with? You go, what do I feel like sharing today? And to me, that is more aligned with marketing. That is more aligned with putting something out that feels more connected to purpose and more connected to, I only want what wants me, because I'm in alignment with what wants me, because I'm sitting in silence with what wants me, right? So what wants me and what I want are now in alignment. And now we're moving in a way that we're marketing. The other thing that I was also thinking about too is taking time to actually have an understanding that it is okay to be a full human online. For a long time, I felt the only thing I could share about myself was my ability to do makeup. I felt like it was what I had available to you. It was what you wanted to know. It was the only thing you cared about. And it was the only thing that I felt like I was qualified to share or teach. And when I moved away from that and understood that I'm a full person, and yes, there are things that you might care about, and maybe there are certain people who are like, man, I really wish when she would just do tutorials, that would be amazing if she would start doing that again. But what's the most important thing to me? My happiness, my alignment, being with what only wants me. So with that, I started to expand and I started to share things. I care about, connection and meeting people and growing and becoming. And so through that, through my self-exploration, my desire to be curious about so many things, I have shared more of myself with you than I ever have in the past. And it has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life to create from that space, because I don't feel limited anymore. I don't feel scared to share the joy and the happiness that I experience. And from that, I have an endless source of abundance of energy. And that energy feels so powerful and so beautiful and so incredible. And I just wanted to open that to you. And hopefully you find a level of alignment within this idea that we can be instead of do. And by being, I'm really talking about doing the things that inspire you and make you happy and make you feel incredible and powerful and aligned. We're so lucky to be doing life together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the It Takes a Village community. I do want to invite you again to register for the newsletter. It is This Made Me Think of You. Okay, so it comes out bi-weekly, and you can register for it at delinamedhin.com. And if you love this episode, please share it with a friend. Sharing with a friend means the world to me. And the last thing I'm going to ask you, and probably the most important, is leave us a review. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave me a message if you see this on YouTube. Just let me know what you're thinking, what you believe. If you are down with this idea of being with what only wants you. And with that, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening and for being a part of my village. Please leave us a review, and I will see you in the next episode.